the celestial offering. In the vast expanse of the cosmos, where countless civilizations rose and fell like celestial tides, the astral confederacy reigned supreme. Their empire stretched across galaxies, built on the foundations of conquest and subjugation. At the heart of their power lay a terrible secret, an ancient creature known as the Void Weaver, a being of incomprehensible might that the Confederacy used to terrorize and dominate other worlds. On a small blue planet called Earth, blissfully unaware of the cosmic powers that shaped the universe, a young girl named Zara spent her days dreaming of the stars. With wild curls that seemed to defy gravity and eyes that sparkled with curiosity, Zara was always looking up, imagining what mysteries lay beyond the twinkling lights in the night sky. Little did she know that her destiny was about to become entangled with forces beyond her wildest dreams. It happened on a crisp autumn evening. Zara was lying in a field near her home, watching shooting stars streak across the sky, when a blinding light engulfed her. In an instant, she was whisked away from everything she knew, her screams lost in the vacuum of space. When Zara regained consciousness, she found herself in a vast, cold chamber unlike anything she had ever seen. The walls pulsed with an eerie, otherworldly light, and strange symbols danced across surfaces that seemed to shift and change before her eyes. Fear gripped her heart as she realized the truth: she was no longer on Earth. Towering figures loomed over her, their bodies a strange fusion of organic matter and advanced technology. These were the Astral Confederacy's elite, beings who had long since abandoned their original forms in pursuit of power and longevity. "The offering has arrived," one of them spoke, its voice a discordant melody that sent shivers down Zara's spine. "Prepare it for the Void Weaver." Zara's mind reeled. Offering? Void Weaver? What were these creatures planning to do with her? As panic threatened to overwhelm her, she forced herself to focus, to observe, to understand. It was a trait that had always set her apart, an unquenchable thirst for knowledge, even in the face of fear. They'd brought her to another chamber, grander and more terrifying than the last. At its center, suspended in a swirling vortex of dark energy, was a creature that defied description. It was as if a piece of the night sky had come alive, its form constantly shifting, tendrils of starlight and shadow reaching out into the surrounding space. This was the Void Weaver, the Astral Confederacy's ultimate weapon, a being born in the early days of the universe, with the power to reshape reality itself. For eons, the Confederacy had kept it bound, using its power to fuel their conquest of the stars. "Approach, child," commanded one of the Confederacy leaders. "Your life force will awaken the Void Weaver from its slumber, allowing us to harness its power once more." Zara's feet moved of their own accord, drawn towards the swirling mass of cosmic energy. Her heart pounded in her chest, every instinct screaming at her to run, to hide, to wake up from this nightmare. But there was nowhere to go, no escape from this alien world so far from home. As she drew closer, something unexpected happened. The Void Weaver's chaotic movements began to slow, its form coalescing into a more defined shape. Tendrils of energy reached out towards Zara, but not with the violent intent her captors had anticipated. Instead, they moved with an almost gentle curiosity. Zara, driven by a mix of fear and fascination, extended her hand. The moment her fingers made contact with the cosmic energy, a jolt of awareness shot through her entire being. In that instant, she understood. The Void Weaver was not a mindless weapon to be used and discarded. It was a sentient being, ancient and wise, trapped and twisted by the Astral Confederacy's cruel ambitions. And now, for the first time in millennia, it had found a connection, a small human girl with a spirit as vast and curious as the cosmos itself. The chamber erupted into chaos. The Confederacy leaders shouted orders, their careful plans unraveling before their eyes. But Zara barely noticed. She was lost in silent communication with the Void Weaver, images and emotions flowing between them in a torrent of shared consciousness. She saw the birth of stars and the death of galaxies. She felt the loneliness of eons spent drifting through the cosmic void and the pain of being trapped and used by the Confederacy. And through it all, she sensed a spark of hope, a possibility that had not existed before her arrival. As the connection faded and Zara found herself back in the cold reality of the chamber, she knew that everything had changed. The Astral Confederacy had meant to sacrifice her to fuel their weapon. Instead, they had forged a bond that would shake the very foundations of their empire. The leaders argued among themselves, unsure how to proceed. Their carefully laid plans had gone awry, and now they faced an unprecedented situation. Some argued for immediately terminating the human child, while others insisted on studying this unexpected development. In the midst of their debate, Zara stood silently, her eyes never leaving the now calmed form of the Void Weaver. She was no longer simply a scared girl from Earth. She was the keeper of cosmic secrets, the unexpected ally of an ancient being. And deep in her heart, a plan began to form, a plan that would change not just her fate, but the fate of countless worlds across the universe. As the first part of her incredible journey came to a close, Zara knew that this was only the beginning. The stars themselves seemed to whisper of the adventures to come, of challenges to be faced and wonders to be discovered. With the Void Weaver as her silent partner, she prepared to navigate the treacherous waters of galactic politics and cosmic powers. The Astral Confederacy had sought to use her as a sacrifice. Instead, they had unknowingly set in motion events that would challenge their dominion over the stars. For in the heart of a human child, they had awakened something greater than they could have ever imagined: hope, courage, and the unbreakable spirit of humanity. As Zara was led away to a holding cell, her mind still reeling from the connection she had shared with the Void Weaver, she made a silent promise. She would find a way to free this ancient being, to right the wrongs of the Astral Confederacy, and perhaps to find her way back home. The path ahead was uncertain and fraught with danger, but Zara faced it with determination burning in her eyes. The cosmos held its breath, waiting to see what this unlikely pair, a human child and a cosmic entity, would do next. The first move in a game that would span galaxies had been made, and the board was set for a conflict that would be remembered for eons to come. The unraveling bond. Days turned into weeks as Zara adjusted to life aboard the vast mothership of the Astral Confederacy. Her holding cell, though comfortable by human standards, felt like a cage to her adventurous spirit. But it was during these long hours of confinement that Zara's connection with the Void Weaver truly began to flourish. In her dreams, Zara soared through star fields and danced among nebulae, guided by the gentle presence of her cosmic companion. The Void Weaver, once a terrifying enigma, now felt like an old friend. Through their mental link, it shared with her the wisdom of eons, the secrets of the universe that no human had ever known. The Astral Confederacy, meanwhile, watched this developing bond with a mixture of fascination and trepidation. Their weapon, the key to their dominion over the stars, was changing in ways they couldn't understand or control. Some saw opportunity in this unexpected turn of events, while others perceived a threat to their very way of life. Zara soon found herself subjected to a battery of tests and experiments. The Confederacy's scientists probed the limits of her connection with the Void Weaver, seeking ways to exploit this newfound link. They placed her in simulators, challenging her to use the Void Weaver's power to manipulate energy and matter. To their amazement and growing unease, Zara's abilities grew with each passing day. But what the Confederacy failed to realize was that with each test, each attempt to weaponize their bond, Zara and the Void Weaver were learning too. They were understanding the extent of their combined potential, and more importantly, they were formulating a plan. It was during one of these testing sessions that Zara first glimpsed the truth behind the Astral Confederacy's facade of superiority. As she reached out with her mind, connecting with the Void Weaver to complete a particularly complex task, she inadvertently brushed against the consciousness of one of her captors. In that fleeting moment, she saw flashes of the Confederacy's history, a history far different from the glorious conquest they proclaimed. The Astral Confederacy, Zara realized, had once been a peaceful coalition of spacefaring races. Their original mission had been one of exploration and discovery, seeking to unravel the mysteries of the cosmos. But power, as it so often does, had corrupted them. The discovery of the Void Weaver had been the turning point, transforming them from explorers into conquerors. This revelation shook Zara to her core. She had been seeing her captors as inhuman monsters, but the truth was far more complex. They were fallen idealists, so far removed from their original purpose that they could no longer recognize what they had become. As Zara's understanding grew, so did her resolve. She knew now that her mission was not just to free herself and the Void Weaver, but to somehow remind the Astral Confederacy of what they once were, to show them a better path forward. But such lofty goals would not be easily achieved. The Confederacy, sensing the changing dynamics, began to tighten their control. Zara found her movements more restricted, her interactions with the Void Weaver more closely monitored. They were afraid, she realized, not just of losing their weapon, but of facing the truth about themselves. It was during this time of increased scrutiny that Zara made an unexpected ally. One of her guards, a young recruit named Lyra, began to show her kindness. At first, Zara was wary, suspecting some sort of trick. But as the days passed, she came to realize that Lyra's compassion was genuine. Lyra, it turned out, was part of a new generation within the Confederacy, one that had begun to question the Empire's brutal methods. Through hushed conversations during mealtimes and brief exchanges as Lyra escorted her to, and from testing sessions, Zara learned that discontent was growing among the lower ranks. "We joined to explore the stars," Lyra confided one day, her voice barely above a whisper. "Not to enslave them." This revelation gave Zara hope. If there were others like Lyra, others who remembered the Confederacy's original purpose, then perhaps change was possible. With the Void Weaver's guidance and Lyra's inside knowledge, a plan began to take shape. But time was running short. The Confederacy's leadership, growing increasingly paranoid about the bond between Zara and the Void Weaver, was considering drastic measures. Zara overheard whispered conversations about severing their connection forcibly, even if it meant destroying both of them in the process. The night before this drastic plan was to be put into action, Zara lay awake in her cell, her mind reaching out to the Void Weaver. In the depths of space, separated by cold metal and humming force fields, girl and cosmic entity communed. "We have to act now," Zara thought, her mental voice tinged with urgency. "Tomorrow may be too late." The Void Weaver's response came not in words, but in a surge of images and emotions. Zara saw the layout of the ship, pathways to freedom that she had never known existed. She felt the ebb and flow of the ship's energy systems, the weak points where a precisely applied force could cause cascading failures. As the plan crystallized in her mind, Zara felt a mix of exhilaration and fear. What they were about to attempt was incredibly dangerous. If they failed, it would mean the end not just for her, but for the Void Weaver and any hope of change within the Confederacy. But the alternative, to remain passive and allow the Confederacy to continue its reign of terror across the galaxies, was unthinkable. Zara thought of Earth, of her family who must be sick with worry, of all the other worlds and beings suffering under the Confederacy's rule. She thought of Lyra and the others like her, trapped in a system they no longer believed in. With grim determination, Zara began to prepare. She would have one chance, one moment to set their plan in motion. As she lay there, every muscle tense, every sense alert, she sent out a final thought to her cosmic friend. "Whatever happens," she projected, feeling the Void Weaver's comforting presence envelop her mind, "we face it together." As the ship's night cycle drew to a close and the first stirrings of activity began in the corridors outside her cell, Zara took a deep breath. The next few hours would determine not just her fate, but the fate of countless beings across the cosmos. With the wisdom of an ancient cosmic entity and the unyielding spirit of humanity, she prepared to challenge an empire that spanned galaxies. The Astral Confederacy had fought to use her as a tool, a means to control a power beyond their understanding. Instead, they had given rise to their greatest threat, a force of change that would shake the very foundations of their dominion. As Zara rose from her bed, her eyes shining with purpose, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, waiting for the moment when a girl from Earth would attempt to rewrite the destiny of the universe. The cosmic revolution. The alarms blared through the massive corridors of the Astral Confederacy's mothership, their shrill cry a testament to the chaos unfolding within. At the heart of this storm stood Zara, her small frame dwarfed by the cosmic energies swirling around her. The Void Weaver, no longer constrained to a single chamber, flowed through the ship like living starlight, its tendrils of power responding to Zara's every thought and gesture. Their escape had begun with a whisper and erupted into a roar that shook the very foundations of the Empire. Systems throughout the ship flickered and failed as the Void Weaver's energy surged through conduits never designed to channel such power. Blast doors meant to contain threats crumpled like paper, and weapons capable of destroying planets fell silent and inert. But it wasn't just raw power that gave Zara and the Void Weaver their edge. It was understanding, a deep, fundamental comprehension of the ship's systems and the Confederacy's protocols that came from weeks of careful observation and the Void Weaver's cosmic insight. Every move they made was calculated, designed not just to aid their escape, but to sow the seeds of a greater change. As they fought their way towards the ship's central command, Zara's voice rang out, amplified by the Void Weaver's power to reach every corner of the vast vessel. "People of the Astral Confederacy," she called, her words translating instantly into 1,000 alien tongues. "You've been lied to. Your leaders have twisted your purpose, turned you from explorers into conquerors. But it's not too late to remember who you truly are." Her words, infused with the Void Weaver's ancient wisdom, resonated through the ship. In the lower decks, Lyra and other like-minded individuals who had long harbored doubts about the Confederacy's methods began to act. They disabled security systems, freed prisoners from a dozen worlds, and spread Zara's message of truth and hope. The Confederacy's leaders, ensconced in their command center, watched in growing horror as their carefully constructed empire began to crumble around them. They had ruled through fear and manipulation for so long that they had forgotten the power of truth and unity. As Zara and the Void Weaver approached the command center, they encountered increasingly desperate resistance. Elite guards armed with weapons that could shatter planets took aim, only to find their technology useless against the Void Weaver's cosmic power. Zara, her eyes glowing with starlight, reached out not to destroy them, but to show them the truth. "See what you've become," she said softly, as the Void Weaver's energy enveloped the guards. In that moment, they saw visions of their own history, the noble beginnings of the Confederacy, the gradual corruption of their ideals, and the suffering they had inflicted across the galaxies. Many fell to their knees, overwhelmed by the weight of their actions. The final battle for the heart of the Astral Confederacy took place not with weapons, but with words and visions. Zara and the Void Weaver breached the command center, facing the leaders who had orchestrated countless atrocities across the stars. "You fool," snarled the Supreme Commander, a being so augmented by technology that little of its original form remained. "Do you think you can undo millennia of power with your childish ideals?" Zara stood tall, the Void Weaver's energy pulsing around her like a cosmic heartbeat. "I think," she said, her voice carrying the weight of worlds, "that it's time for you to remember what you've forgotten." With a gesture, she and the Void Weaver released a surge of energy that engulfed the entire chamber. The leaders of the Confederacy found themselves immersed in visions of their own history, confronted with the stark reality of what they had become. They saw the worlds they had destroyed, the cultures they had erased, the lives they had ruined in their endless quest for dominance. But Zara and the Void Weaver didn't stop there. They showed the leaders an alternative, a future where the incredible technology and knowledge of the Confederacy could be used to heal and unite, to explore and discover. It was a vision of a cosmos bound not by chains of conquest, but by bridges of cooperation and understanding. As the visions faded, the command center fell silent. The Supreme Commander, his augmented eyes wide with shock, slumped in his chair. "What? What have we done?" he whispered, his voice breaking. Zara approached him, her steps sure and steady. "You lost your way," she said gently, "but it's not too late to find it again." In that moment, the fate of galaxies hung in the balance. The leaders of the Astral Confederacy, stripped of their illusions and confronted with the truth of their actions, faced a choice that would reshape the cosmos. Slowly, trembling with the weight of millennia, the Supreme Commander reached out and took Zora's small hand in his own. "Help us," he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Help us remember who we were meant to be." The news spread through the ship like wildfire, then outward to the farthest reaches of the Confederacy's vast empire. The revolution that had begun in the heart of a human child and an ancient cosmic entity swept across the stars. Everywhere, beings who had lived under the Confederacy's oppressive rule looked up at the skies with new hope. In the days and weeks that followed, the Astral Confederacy began the long, difficult process of transformation. Under the guidance of Zara and the Void Weaver, they started to dismantle the structures of oppression they had built. Conquered worlds were freed, ancient wrongs were acknowledged, and the immense resources of the Confederacy were turned towards healing the scars left by centuries of war and domination. It wasn't an easy process. There were those who clung to the old ways, who fought against the tide of change. But for every voice that cried out for a return to conquest, there were 1,000 more who had tasted freedom and found it sweeter than any hollow victory. Zara, once a prisoner and a tool, now found herself at the center of a galactic renaissance. With the Void Weaver as her constant companion, she traveled to worlds beyond imagining, helping to forge new alliances and heal old wounds. Her human perspective, combined with the Void Weaver's cosmic wisdom, proved invaluable in navigating the complex tapestry of interstellar politics and culture. And what of Earth, the small blue planet where this incredible journey had begun? Zara never forgot her home, and as the new Astral Alliance, as the reformed Confederacy came to be known, stretched out its hand in peace to new worlds, Earth was among the first to become contacted. The day Earth officially joined the galactic community was one of both joy and bittersweetness for Zara. She watched from orbit as her planet took its first steps into a larger universe, feeling a swell of pride for how far both she and humanity had come. Her family, finally reunited with their long-lost daughter, marveled at the incredible journey that had transformed a curious girl into a beacon of hope for entire galaxies. As the years passed, the legend of Zara and the Void Weaver grew. Across countless worlds, beings of all forms and natures told the tale of how the unlikeliest of pairs, a human child and an ancient cosmic entity, had reshaped the destiny of the universe. It became a story of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the power to change the course of history could come from the most unexpected places. Zara herself, though, never lost the sense of wonder that had first led her to gaze up at the stars from a field on Earth. Even as she grew older, even as she took on greater responsibilities within the new galactic order, she remained at heart the curious, compassionate girl who had formed an impossible friendship with a being born from the very fabric of space and time. And the Void Weaver, once a weapon of unimaginable destruction, found in its bond with Zara a new purpose. Together, they continued to explore the farthest reaches of the cosmos, discovering wonders and facing challenges that no one, human or otherwise, had ever encountered before. As their story spread across the galaxies, it carried with a simple but powerful message that in the vast, often terrifying expanse of the universe, it was not conquest or domination that gave life meaning, but connection. The bond between a girl from Earth and a cosmic entity had changed the fate of countless worlds, reminding beings everywhere that the greatest power in the universe was not the ability to destroy, but the courage to understand, to empathize, and to unite. And so, as new stars were born and old ones faded away, as civilizations rose and fell and rose again, the legacy of Zara and the Void Weaver lived on, a testament to the enduring power of curiosity, compassion, and the unbreakable spirit of those who dare to reach for the stars.